Can't complain. Well, I got to go get the duct tape now after tonight's show. This whole the conversation about Disney certainly, and then looking at and doing the starting to get dive into the after action reviews on the Buffalo shooting has been just it's unbelievable. It's so easy to see what needs to be fixed. It's so easy to see where the gaps are, and where the critical thinking errors lie, but yet it's just, I don't know. It's like the stupid just keep getting stupider. It never
Yes,
changes.
they
It's crazy.
do. Yeah, I think the
But
difference
looking,
is turning thoughts into action, and a lot of people really struggle with that. How do you go from thoughts into action, and then how do you actually make changes in your day-to-day life and sacrifices? So, I was on a conference call today, and two families are going to Disneyland, and I'm just like, yep, some people just never wake up.
no. No, well, unfortunately, what happens is it winds up taking people being made extremely uncomfortable to actually make a change. It's like,
Right.
well, it's an inconvenience if I don't do this, or my kids really want to go, and I don't want to explain to them why they can't see Mickey and Minnie, so we're just going to do it, and I'm just going to suck it up. But it's you keep perpetrating this, and you know exactly what you're going to get. And I've said this a million times before: what you accept, you can expect in greater numbers, in greater volume, and we're seeing this. It's just coming at us from all
Right.
directions. But I could
Exactly.
bloviate about this for
Well,
hours. I'm going to hand it off to you.
yes, we
Have a
could.
great show and enjoy your Thursday
All right.
evening.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Keith. You have a wonderful night. Hey, you guys, how's it going? We have a guest on tonight who's one of my personal friends. I don't know if you remember, about 6, 9 months ago, I had Nurse Brandon on. Now, Brandon and we met because I was actually his patient once when I was in Arizona on vacation, got dehydrated and landed myself in the hospital. But we've been friends ever since. And Brandon now takes nursing assignments all over the United States. And I'm blessed to have him here in Oregon for the next 6 months. So Brandon's been able to see quite a bit of our culture here. I had told him about it for years, and now he's actually immersed in it. And so excited to have him on. You guys can ask questions. Brandon is very transparent and not afraid to tackle the tough questions about what it's like being a registered nurse during the pandemic. So Brandon, come on in. Hey.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for having me. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
I
me?
can at least.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
No,
good.
yeah, definitely coming here, starting to discover the Pacific Northwest about 4 years ago. It definitely was a culture shock in a way. The one time the many times I had seen tents for, you go camping and stuff, but I remember driving up the I-5 or through the city and I see these green grass plains and I see tents pitched everywhere. And I'm like, what the hell? That's homeless? That were Phoenix,
Yeah,
like people would get them the hell out of there. It just was very different, and just all this
yeah,
different stuff that's being indoctrinated into people's minds. And like what I sent you the other night, the book at the particular hospital I'm working at, I'm just like,
yeah,
ironically, that
yes. Okay, so for your sake, we won't go into exactly where you're working right now, but Brandon is working, like I said, in a Portland area hospital and sent me a book that's being sold in the gift shop there at the hospital. And wasn't it something to the effect of "Don't be a racist baby"? It's supposed to be like a book to a new mother.
the front of the book depicts just a baby. I think it's an African American baby riding on dad's chest or something, and the front of the book says "anti-racist baby," and I'm like,
Oh, there you
what the
go.
hell kind of what the hell kind
Anti-racist
of story
baby.
is that? Ironically,
I've
that
met a
shop,
lot of racist babies. I don't know about you. Just
yeah,
they're just
yeah.
walking around all over the place.
Oh, they're everywhere. They definitely need some work, you know,
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that should be the next focus for the Democrats. Like, let's just really rid this country of racist babies. I mean, it's just disgusting. But in all honesty, I mean that book being sold, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but just how asinine, right? I mean, it's
Right.
just crazy. So once you gave that to me, and of course, anytime you guys send me anything, I'm gonna put it on social media. So I put it out there and I had a lot of responses. Local people were like, yeah, I wouldn't expect anything else. They're disgusted, but it's to be expected. And then people that live in a red state, reddish, whatever, not where we're at, they're dumbfounded. So it's really interesting to see the different reactions. And then I get somebody who's followed me for a long time that says, "Oh, well, is it really that bad to talk about how to be an anti-racist kid?" And I'm like, "Dude, really?" So I'm like,
Oh Lord.
is it needed? Is that needed at that age? Like, seriously. So
You
yeah,
know,
kind of interesting.
it's always been my biggest fear. I think over 10 to 12 years ago, since this whole liberalism concept really like caught fire in this younger generation of such polarizing topics being exploited. And of course, it's
Yeah,
happened. Unfortunately, it's happened. They've taken it and they're just running wild with it. And I would like to talk about that concept within the right way, but they're using it to their advantage just to wreak havoc. Unfortunately, um,
exactly.
you know, I like finding out certain facts. Like I was talking to my landlord. I live in a guest house cottage near Mount Tabor, but my landlord, he even admitted, we were talking about the police and the riots that have happened downtown. He even admitted he's left leaning. They admitted that, yeah, we may be left leaning, but our patience is running thin on what's going on downtown and everything.
Right.
And
Right. Well,
but he,
that's a perfect segue. Sorry to cut you off, Brandon. I have to segue real quick into something, and this is a big
okay.
deal for Oregonians. So right
Mhm.
now, as most viewers know, I was campaigning. I was on the campaign trail for the first time with someone. It was really exciting. So I was campaigning hard with Mark Thielman, who was running for governor in Oregon. Now there were 19 candidates running for governor on the Republican ticket, right? So he did not make it through the primaries, but the person who did is a rhino who actually accepted money from Pfizer. So it just shows that even here, so the Republican, like right now, I personally can't bring myself to support the GOP nomination for the governor in the state of Oregon. I'm not going to vote for the incredibly left Democrat. So right now, I'm actually really looking into Betsy Johnson, who is an independent, more of a libertarian. And quite frankly, I just morally can't put my weight behind either of the other candidates. And so I'm really looking into her heavily. And I think someone like a Betsy Johnson, Brandon, to your point, would be attractive to someone who has been left leaning but is currently really sick of what's happening. And so I think it's important to get somebody that can appeal across party lines.
Absolutely, being able to appeal across party lines, someone that can, I think, connect with the younger generation. Here, say, because I think
Right.
maybe a lot of the trouble is too. You have these rhinos, and I think you also have all these candidates that I think they'll have trouble reaching that younger generation or communicating what point they want to get across. So,
Right.
and like
Right.
we've reiterated, the liberals have been at work at this for over 15, 20 years, unfortunately, with the
Yes.
boom of media.
Exactly.
As I've reiterated, I remember 2005 or 2008 taking, having to be required liberal studies to be able to go into nursing. We took gender studies. Oh, we took studies on Chicano Hispanic classes. I remember we took like ethnic studies 101, and that was studying all racisms. I was surprised, even a little bit of white racism. But really, after that class, as a Caucasian or white person, you walk out of it feeling pretty fucking guilty,
Yeah.
because of what our ancestors did and everything. And even my Hispanic friend from Yuma, he even was shaking his head. I'm like, man, we gave it the nickname the white people are evil class.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much
Yeah.
what it is. That's what they're teaching
Hmm.
everybody. So I know.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to come out of college, like you were saying, even nursing classes. It's like hard to come out
Yeah.
without feeling guilty to a point. Even someone like you who has very strong conservative values and whose family is
Mhm.
very conservative. So yeah, so that's a really good point. So Brandon, let's pivot it into nursing through the pandemic. And then just most recently, I want to bring up a few things happening in the state of Oregon. We have last Friday, the Oregon Health Authority came out in a joint statement with the Oregon, what is it? The Oregon Department of Education. So they issued a joint statement advising that superintendents of schools, educators, that they start encouraging. Now, again, they're using these words that are not, we're not at the mandate point yet. They're encouraging students and staff to mask up again. And also, that's statewide. So now then we hone in on Multnomah County, where you're working, where you're staying, Portland. And Multnomah County issued an advisory that people should mask up again because COVID cases are rising. So that said, Brandon, with what you are seeing in the hospitals, does this hold any weight? Does this joint statement make any sense to you?
The joint statement of encouraging everyone to mask up again does not hold any weight because, from my personal experience, what I've seen as a nurse, COVID isn't going away. And sadly, there is the outlier that the health compromised people are going to be very vulnerable. As far as kids, I don't believe so. Yeah, we're going to get sick. We're going to get a cold. COVID has run its course through a lot of us. I think the last time I was on the show was summer 2021. And since then, I've gotten COVID. And guess what? I'm vaxxed. I got vaxxed December 2020, just when there was no stigma behind it. I just was like, well, I was neutral about it, and maybe it can provide some benefit, but obviously it didn't. And ironically, my sister wasn't vaxxed, and she got COVID, and her symptoms were a lot less severe than mine. So I was pretty down and out for 3 days. So as far as encouraging masking up again, unless every single person is suffocating through an N95, I don't see it being effective. And since COVID is here to stay, it's not going anywhere, I really don't get the point.
All right. Well, I appreciate your candor and your transparency. And that's, you know, when I pulled numbers before this podcast here, I pulled some numbers in Oregon, and it's just really wild to see. I'm like, wow, these cases, the case numbers where they are issuing these advisory statements based on, they're incredibly low impact. And so it doesn't make any sense for me outside of this midterm variant that we all know is going to come out, right? It's going to come out so that we can have the same type of situation with voting in November. So, you know, here in Oregon, we don't have a shot in hell at election integrity because we can only vote by mail. You don't even have the option to go in. It drives me nuts when I talk about things, and out-of-staters like to say, just go in person. I'm like, yeah, they don't get it. They don't get it. You can't do that in Oregon or in Washington State, just to clear the air for anyone that's not aware of that. So here, it's very difficult for us to have that election integrity in place. In the county I reside in, Clackamas County, we don't even have we just had our vote on Tuesday. We don't even have all of the votes counted. There was a major issue. They're having to hand count because barcodes were blurry. Some people were getting 3 ballots. Some people weren't getting any. And so it's just an absolute mess. But I did as much due diligence as I could. And I went into, you know, and handed my ballot to a clerk, but when she just stuck it in a box, right? So it's like, for me, that's what I had to do to be able to sleep at night, knowing I did as much as I could to make sure at least it didn't get lost in transit. But I still have absolutely no insurance policy that it was even counted. And if it was, that it went to the proper candidates. So that's where we stand here. But yeah, it's pretty wild that that we're hearing this again. And I really do feel like it's an advisory right now, but we're gearing up for mandates again. And I don't know about you, Brandon, but I sure as heck don't see people complying anywhere near the rate that they once were.
Yeah, no, I don't see people complying near the rate as to what it once was, or taking all the precautions. I mean, I've had a COVID patient the last 3 nights when I've worked, and you know, I'm putting on the full mask and face shield and everything, and I'm just like, you know, I've had it, I'm vaxxed, I have the antibodies. This is kind of silly, you know, other than spreading it to other patients. But you know, there's one nurse I know, man, no matter what patient's room they go into, even if they're not dealing with COVID, they're all masked up and geared down. I'm just like, oh boy, you know, it's just, how long are they going to ride this topic of COVID? How long are they going to exploit it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And just the other day, I was at the dentist with my kids, and they were wanting me to leave because of COVID precautions, they wanted me to leave my daughter in the lobby because the appointment was for my son. And I said, oh, absolutely not. I'm not leaving my daughter. Yeah, she's 11, but I'm not leaving her in the lobby while I go back into the back, the dentist office. And I was absolutely standing my ground on that. I don't care how long it took me to get into that appointment for him. And they said, well, it's COVID precautions. And I said, when do you plan on lifting your COVID precautions? Well, when it goes away. And I said, it's not going away, right? Like, this, right? Like, you realize this. And she's like, I don't know. I
Yes.
don't have answers. And I was like, look, I get it, but you need to stop with this. You need to stop. So yes, I was able to bring her into the back. There was no way this mama's leaving her out in the waiting area, but it's just, people don't, like you said earlier, it's not going away. The flu has not gone away. There's different strains of it. This is same thing. There's going to be different breakoffs. It's not going away. It's just learning to I say, but we just have to learn to live with it and have that herd.
You cut out there, but yeah, absolutely. Whether you go to the dentist, a restaurant, or whether you go to the gym, the inconsistency with the precautions and the principles is just maddening. Let me think of a few points here. You go to a restaurant, and some restaurants have paper menus they hand you back again, and some restaurants have barcodes you still got to scan. So anyways, quick story here. One of my favorite restaurants in Gig Harbor is called Tides Tavern. It's kind of tucked down in the cove there near the marina. And they have, I believe still they're doing contactless menus. Well, the ironic part is when you scan the barcode, you can't do anything. You want to know why? There's no fucking internet service. So how do you expect us to look at the menu? Einstein's. So, and then I remember being at my fitness center. If you guys know Orange Theory, a fitness center. Most of the treads usually have fans attached to them. When you turn them on, the fan activates. Well, these ones didn't activate because we weren't allowed to use them because that makes COVID blow around more. So we're running, and there's a big sign in there that they tape that says absolutely no fans. Well, guys, guess what's going on above us? A big turbine fan. Like, it's just everybody's, inconsistent principles was just maddening. I couldn't believe it. And the CDC is doing something different every 2 days, and they're pulling stuff out of their ass. And at this point, I wish they would admit they're pulling stuff out of their ass because, people want to be as neutral as they can about it. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And I think you cut out.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, good. I lost you at turbine fans above you.
Turbine fans. Yeah. I think I mentioned the turbine fans above us. When on the treadmill fans, we can't run them, but the fans above you are going. So
yeah, the perfect word for that is asinine. I mean, that I love that word. It's an oldie but a goodie. Oh goodness! All right, talk to us about for the patients that you have been seeing. I'd love to hear about let's just say, I'm just going to be open. I have a step grandma who did pass. She had a laundry list of ailments. Heart issues, diabetes, like not in good health. And she did contract COVID, and she did ultimately die with COVID. Now, I am not a denier of that being an element, right? Like, I think if someone has issues already, health issues, severe health issues already, then absolutely there's reason to be cautious, just like with the flu or pneumonia. But are you primarily seeing, when someone does have a big problem, are you primarily seeing that it's someone who has prior health issues?
Yes, absolutely. As the COVID got more severe, I think from mid 2020 to early 2021, those were your prime candidates, were history of diabetes and alcohol. And if you were overweight, drank a lot of alcohol, and had diabetes, you were a prime candidate for COVID to do a number on, sadly. So, and what's so ironic is COVID infects so inconsistently. One person might be on 2 liters of oxygen on a nasal cannula, that attaches through the nose, walking around the room, doing the regimen for 5 days, getting IV vitamins and antibiotics, even though they don't really do anything, the antibiotics here say. Whereas the other person, probably younger than them, maybe have less comorbidities, is on big high flow oxygen, and we're just trying to keep their oxygen up till their lungs can keep up. So, and there are a
It
couple
really
outliers
varies, it sounds like.
and there are a couple outliers I can think of. I know family friends through when I used to race dirt bikes over a decade ago. A friend my dad's age, his wife actually contracted COVID and was on the vent, came off the vent, and then had to be put back on the vent. And she, I think, was a fairly healthy lady, unfortunately. But to answer your question, yes, for the most part, it likes to attack diabetes and overweight and all those comorbidities. And sadly, people with handicap histories such as cerebral palsy, ALS. I forgot what that full abbreviation stood for, but
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
that
absolutely.
makes sense. So, Brandon, even though you are, and you live in Arizona, you're from Arizona, Arizona resident, technically, right? You've been going
Yeah.
around the country. So, I
Mhm.
want to know, really, what are you seeing state to state? What big differences are you seeing as far as handling this pandemic? I know you've worked in red states and in blue states, and I'm curious what the differences are.
As far as the handling of COVID goes from hospital to hospital, not much differences other than, let's see, when I started in downtown LA, LA County, I think that is. So it probably varies by county as opposed to maybe red or blue state. And that started off with mixed rooms. So you would have clean rooms and you would have COVID rooms. You would do all your COVID rooms first, and then you'd go and assess your clean patients so that actually, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. Clean patients first, and then go to the COVID patients so that
That
you
makes
don't contaminate
sense.
your clean patients. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got night shift brain, but yeah, there was that
Yeah.
concept, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, we're going to move all the clean patients to the north wing, and then the south wing will be just COVID patients. So is to try and not infect and contain COVID. And then let's see, Oklahoma City was just the same way. We kept all the COVID patients on one unit. Um, Orange County was the same way. All the COVID patients were on one unit. As far as the different ways of handling it go, I think pertain mainly to outside the hospital. For example, I don't think many on here know unless they're from there. Orange County out of California, basically a county that sits between LA and San Diego, told Gavin Newsom, hey, fuck you. The sheriff did. We're not going to enforce these COVID policies. We're going to keep our gyms and our barbershops open. Granted, you still, whatever, wore masks while working out, while running on the tread, did whatever you could. But at least people there got to stay moving and stay healthy and active. So I saw
Yeah.
more differences of the handling outside the hospital per county as opposed to in the hospital. So in the hospital was mainly fairly consistent with visitors. That kind of varied a little bit. They thought it was going down one time. So, we can have visitors from 3 to 7 p.m. or 7 to 11 a.m. Then all of a sudden, then they shut that back down. Then there was no visitors at all. So then it's like early 2021, there's like, oh, screw it. Visitors can come back now for, a 12-hour
Yeah.
block. So
Right. Well, I saw
if that
Florida,
makes sense.
DeSantis just passed something that basically said you can't die alone. I don't know the name of the bill, can't die alone bill, or won't be alone bill or something, but where they can't ban visitors again, because I can't even begin to fathom. Brandon, I'm taking this from my phone. Can you read that comment right there?
Okay,
For me,
Susan
it's like
Smith.
micro machine tiny.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Yeah, sorry, folks. Yeah, had issues, so I had to take it from my phone, so everything is like shrunken
Where are
down,
we
teeny
going?
tiny.
Okay, so the name is Susan Smith. I'll ask her, do you know who was the manufacturer? Was it Pfizer? Was it Moderna? Or Johnson & Johnson? Out of curiosity.
What's the question, Brandon?
The question is who would she happen to know who the manufacturer was?
Oh, okay. Of the
Yeah,
vaccines, of the 3
yeah,
vaccines.
the vaccine. Based on what I read from the text. So the question was, people are experiencing liver, kidney problems, and
Right.
related stuff. I haven't heard that. I have had patients who have had side effects. I've had a lady back in Phoenix who had, I believe, induced Bell's palsy, unfortunately.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, but I have seen more side effects, hospitalized side effects from the COVID vaccine as opposed to a regular vaccine that you would get.
Right, right. I'm not sure
Mhm.
if Juan had the answer up there for you. If she typed back, I think another comment popped up.
I saw something else
But
pop up. I was trying to read it. So,
sorry, they're so
oh,
small.
okay. I think, yeah, there's something on there that says Moderna. All right.
Moderna.
I believe that's what that says. Yeah. Okay. Moderna.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting to me. I haven't heard of those conditions happening, but I'll be looking for the data. That's for sure. I'll be asking around.
That's what I like about you is you're not closed off to like
Yeah.
information seeking, right? You don't just go by what you're told. You actually take the time to
Yeah.
research, and I appreciate that about you. I don't think we could be friends if
No.
if you didn't have that ability to really want to understand the why and the what. So yeah, I appreciate that about you very much. And so you guys, so what I wanted to, before we answered that question here, Brandon, though he's not a local, he has been attending and getting involved in quite a few of the political activities happening here in Oregon. And then actually, just tomorrow, we're going to be going to the Clark County, which is Vancouver, Washington, the Clark County Sheriff's Debate. And so, for the most part, Oregon, my campaigning in Oregon is my guy didn't make it through. I detest the ones that are going to be running, except for potentially that independent. And so I'm pivoting to focus on Southwest Washington, which is where I was born and raised. And they don't have their primaries until August, so quite a bit of campaigning to be done. But it'll be really cool. Brandon and I, we were able to get we're going to be at a table with 6 people, and then I know another 10, 15 people that are going. And so I think anyone watching this, it's really cool to be able to pivot and get involved, but socialize at the same time. So if you have friends that have been wanting to get together for lunch, coffee, whatever, how about you start looking at events that are happening in your area and then suggest, hey, why don't we meet at the sheriff's debate? Right? And you can ask some questions to the people that will have a lot of power in your area. So that's just something, I told you guys that 22 was going to be a year of boots on ground for me. And I have been doing that. And so I'm proud of myself for actually getting out of the house, getting away from the computer, and actually getting in person. And I've met so many amazing patriots and fighters in this state. And so I think it's cool that even though Brandon is from Arizona, what do you guys call it? Arizonaite? I don't know. Arizonian? Arizonian. Is that what it is?
Arizonian. I guess you can go by that. Yeah.
Arizonian. But I think it's cool that you're getting involved here locally with me and the group of people, despite where you're from.
No problem. It's been a lot of fun. It's been really. It's okay. It's been a lot of fun. Very interesting to see what goes on as far as in this state being as blue as it is, and as far as you mentioned, boots on the ground. That kind of reminds me of our former Fox 10 newscaster in Arizona, Carrie Lake, who I'm very, very excited for in our state.
Oh yeah, she's gonna do great.
Yeah, she has a lot of momentum, and she's not afraid to question both sides. She's not afraid to be transparent. So I'm really rooting and pulling for her, and I think she can reach the generation as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I know I have quite a few friends that have moved to Arizona from Oregon a year back or so, and they are campaigning hard with her. So that's really exciting.
Yeah,
Good deal, Brandon. All right.
Absolutely.
So sorry, you guys. I have allergies right now, so I had a tickle in my throat. So I'm not crying. I'm just getting through by not coughing. Okay. Yeah. So really exciting. I have to plug something for those that have been following me and my journey for quite some time. I'm actually, over the summer, I'm going to be leaving a 20-year career and transitioning into broadcasting as my new career. So that's a big deal. I don't have an exact date, but July, August, that's going to be my transition. I couldn't be more excited. And so it's funny, right as that decision was made, doors have opened. And so I'm really excited to get more involved with RAM TV and be able to have more time to spend going on different shows and having more people on, maybe a higher frequency. But also, one of my guests who I had on recently, Ron Ward, who is the retired, one of the really high up people that was in the FBI for quite some time. He retired and wrote a book, The Dirty Side of Leadership. And on October 1st, we will be rolling out the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast. And so we are doing a ton of prep work because I don't do anything small. It's going to be big out the gate. So we're really excited to have that. And so it'll be a bit of a switch for me. It'll be leadership. I'll still keep doing what I'm doing, talking about politics. But I've been a leader in my career for quite some time. So it'll be really cool to be able to use those skills to make sure my 20 years of leadership have not gone unused despite my career change, and then also continuing in politics. So yeah, so I'll be able to post more often, and just I'm just really pumped, quite personally. I know Juan's pumped to be able to utilize me more often now that I'm not tied to my computer from 8 to 5. So thought I'd share that. Brandon, you already knew that, right? That wasn't news for you.
No, yeah, that wasn't news for me. I'm excited for you, though. I like how you just decided, I think 2 years ago, you just hit the ground and said, I'm going to do this. You know, I'm going to believe in something and get the ground running, and you've never backed off.
That. I do. I appreciate that. Yeah. And that's one thing, you know, I had to keep the alias for quite some time. Like, I just came out with Kristen as my name. So, because it's something when you work for a corporation, you do have to keep it under wraps for the most part. I was bold enough to come out and have my face out there, and believe me, I got backlash from it. But now I'm like, my name's out there. Like, let's do this. Let's do it right. So pretty exciting transition for me. And thank you guys all for supporting me for so long.
Yeah,
you included,
absolutely.
Brandon. Awesome.
So,
well, I appreciate everybody tuning in. We have about 2 minutes to go here. Brandon, do you have any final words for this segment for the audience?
That's tough because there's just so much to say and so many other future topics I'd like to cover. I know last night, I kind of hate to go down a brief rabbit hole here, but I was reading about harm reduction. I thought that was just kind of a concept, but sounds like it's like a whole big social movement. So that might have to be something we unravel in the future, because it's not just a concept of like, handing out clean needles so people can inject themselves with drugs, but it's a whole other social movement that I feel like is being exploited. So other than that, I just would reiterate, stay neutral, kind of question everything. If you see something on social media, don't just pounce on it. You know, don't have fact checkers prove you wrong. I think I mentioned, 2 years ago, some idiot reposted that, look, there was a photo of, I think it was Barack Obama, Anthony Fauci, and a few other ladies, and the person was convinced that, it was them in the Wuhan lab up to something. When no, a fact checker flagged them and somehow found out that it was actually a new science center that was built at the University of Maryland. So just don't be that guy.
But was it?
Was it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think these fact checkers are worth a damn, personally. I mean,
no, they're not worth a damn, but yeah, they're not worth a damn.
I agree, though. I agree. Here's what I'll say, Brandon.
Yeah.
I agree. Question everything, but I also don't give them I don't give fact checkers any weight, because I keep getting shadow banned because of fact checkers saying, like, for instance, Justin Trudeau's dick socks. They, I got they like to shadow ban. I just the other day, and I'll just say this. I know we're almost done here, but the other day, those fact checkers, they said, I posted something about some guy won the lottery and put $200,000 worth of manure in his boss's driveway. And that was in March. And all I wrote was, that's interesting, and reshared it. And they shadow banned me again, saying that I was, spreading misinformation because it turns out that guy had not won the lottery. He already had money. Just the craziest stuff. So I know what you're saying, but I think I agree with you up to the point of, research everything, don't trust anything. But those fact checkers.
And I'm right with you with the fact checkers, but just if we're gonna say something, just make sure there's substance, I guess.
Yeah,
Because we want to have
I get
substance
that
behind
too.
what we're talking about before the
Yes,
left just tears us apart. So I guess that's where I was
exactly.
running with that.
I see what you're saying. It was innocent,
Yeah.
Brandon, but I can't help myself. All right.
No,
Well, thank you so much for coming on again. I really appreciate it. Again, I really enjoy the fact that you are open and you listen and you research and there's another comment up there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. It was pretty small again, but maybe we can hit that real quick before.
Okay, yeah, people have been writing into Britt and talking about their facts injuries. She has been posting them. Okay, I don't know who Britt is, but all right. So
we need
figure
to
that
have,
out.
what we'll do, Brandon? We just need to have a Q&A with Brandon where there is
Yeah.
no other agenda. We just go live and we can just sit there and you can tackle some of these questions, because I do think there's so many questions that people have, and it's rare to find somebody in the medical industry like you who is actually you approach it very neutral, and you go off of research and experience versus what you've been told. So maybe Juan, maybe we can make that happen where we have a Q&A with Brandon. He gave me a thumbs up. All right, so let's do that. And again, I appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow at the sheriff's debate, and keep doing what you're doing in your area. The medical industry is very divided right now, and you know that firsthand. And just keep being you and standing out and making sure that you're that neutral party that dives in. And I just appreciate that very much.
Absolutely, KSOK.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. See you tomorrow.
All right. See you tomorrow.
All right, bye. All right. Thank you guys very much. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Someone has it out for me in the IT world. I don't know. Maybe I have liberals that are just cutting my wires. Who knows? But I appreciate you guys tuning in. There's always a great guest coming on here. And I just really enjoy, we'll put that Q&A together, because that man is just a wealth of knowledge, and he's just so down to earth, which is so refreshing coming from the medical industry. So thank you very much, and stay tuned for next Thursday. We have we're going to go in a different direction with a guest for next Thursday. So I'm excited about that, and appreciate you for staying there with me. More to come. Until then, I'll see you Thursday on KSOK Uncensored, 5 o'clock Pacific. Bye.
My name is Joey Lynn Massaros. I'm a stay-at-home mom in New Braunfels, Texas. My husband Robert is a plumber. Just like many Americans, we enjoy exercising our constitutional right, especially our First Amendment right to exercise free speech. You might remember in 2020 during early election when the Biden-Harris campaign bus drove through New Braunfels, Texas. There was a viral video of a Trump train driving alongside of them, and we were proud to show our support for President Trump. 8 months later, we found out that we were getting sued in federal court under the Ku Klux Klan law of 1871. Triggered Democrat politicians, Biden-Harris campaign staff, and members of the White House cabinet were on the bus and are claiming they're traumatized from our presence next to them and suing us for emotional compensation. They claim we premeditated assault with a plan to ambush the bus and run it off the road, but that never happened. These malicious and frivolous lies are costing our family hundreds of thousands of dollars in the federal court system. We need your help to fight back to defend free speech, not just for our family, but for all Americans. We believe God has called us to this opportunity as a chance to stand up and defend free speech for all Americans, whether we agree or not. So rather than believe that we're being picked on by these Democrats that are suing us in federal court, we see this as a great opportunity to stand up and defend free speech. But we need your help. It takes a lot of money to do this. We have already cashed out our 401k, our savings account, and our child's future fund, just so that we can defend our family's name. We want to be able to hold the left accountable for weaponizing the law system against average Americans, just like you. They think they picked on us, but they don't realize that we believe God chose us as an opportunity to stand up and fight for what's right. You can join our fight to defend free speech at freespeechdefender.com.
Well, Hello there, and welcome to another episode. It is time to get right into it right after this.